Any East River fresh sole?
No, sir.
Oh, geez. I just realized that I had forgotten. Let's see if I'm doing things correctly. I had forgotten to hit the live stream videos stuff. Let me just do a quick little correction for that. See, I'm rusty.
Guys, I'm going to bounce and go build a fire and watch the last 10 minutes of the weight game. I'll be back.
Enjoy. Fire's always fun.
Thanks for coming, Bill.
Let's see if I'm... There we go. All right, so that's up and running. And that's up and running. Knew I was forgetting something. All right, now we're fully functioning. Oh, I see we've got a request coming in. Sorry about that. I was clicking other buttons. Mr. Wolf Raelius is approved. Oh, there he is. Good morning, Mr. Wolf. Now I'm curious. Where does Wolf Raelius come from? What's the Raelius part? I mean, wolf, I see a dog. But the Raelius suffix? What's that all about? Is it like Marcus Aurelius? Maybe the approval didn't work. Double tapped it. Oops. Yep, looks like he probably dropped out to make corrections.
So are you using a soundboard or are you using your soundboard?
Did you hear it?
Yes, I did.
Then it's working. Yay! That's it's a sound mixer that I have here in the studio.
Cool.
It has some sound pads on it. The effects. I have a bunch of the songs loaded up that some folks had made for me, which is fantastic.
Looks like Wolf is back.
Guess who's back? Back again. Let's see. I'm sure he'll throw the request in momentarily. He's probably getting things dialed in. I think this is the point where he feeds his dog fresh salmon and caviar. Nothing but the finest. There's the request. Approval is good. We'll see how it goes. And we got 2020 Defense and Tactical. And Zelda. Ah, one of my favorite games as a kid.
Good afternoon, Eric. Did you happen to catch wind of the news regarding precious metals over the last 2 days and how much they've dropped, how much was wiped off the books?
I heard, noticed, whatever you want to call it, that silver apparently tanked. But as far as being like wiped off the books, I didn't hear that term, nor do I know exactly what that means.
Well, let's say you purchased silver when it was at $120 an ounce, and now it's down to 88.
Okay.
Right? So you've essentially lost close to $30 an ounce right there. Where did the value go? It's gone somewhere else, either into someone's.
I have a bunch of bullion. I don't have certificates or anything. I just
Right.
have straight silver coins.
that's the difference. If you hold the physical gold, the bullion, right, the actual tangible product, as opposed to mere certificates, a slip of paper saying, I own this many stacks of gold somewhere, the equivalent of Fort Knox for silver, right? People are anticipating, failures to deliver on certificates for silver. There's all kinds of fuckery afoot. It's not good.
Fair enough.
I barely understand it, but it's not good.
I'm loosely familiar with that dilemma, and it, seems to be cyclical. So yeah, to me, it just excuse me. Even when I did notice it, I just thought of it as par for the course. Market manipulations. I'm sure that someone's reaping the benefit of it and sold their stuff at the right time.
Yeah, Nancy Pelosi's stock record is just fantastic. Would that we could all invest in her trades, eh?
Yeah, she had a husband that was really big in that.
Paul Pelosi, yeah. You remember he was involved in a bit of a scandal with someone who broke into their home and assaulted him with a hammer?
Yes.
All right. And that fellow was apparently, acting in disturbed ways during the J6 gatherings. And that seems to have kind of gone away, along with Mr. Pelosi's drunk driving charges. Odd how that works.
I got friends in high places where the legal charges are easily erased. 'Cause I got friends.
Yeah, I don't know enough about geopolitics and financial markets to suss what's happening. A lot of people who would be commenting on this with some, credibility and reputational attachment to their speculations don't know what to offer. That's how bizarre the situation is.
Came out of the blue.
Yeah, I'm still sitting on the bullion in case, because last time I looked, it had been $25 and it went up to 44, and now it's up to 85 or something. So I'm just sitting on it.
I got bullion in the fridge, but it's beef bullion.
You're wise to sit on it, Par. I just, if you also can, right, don't just sit on it in terms of actual pieces and bars. Try and get something that you can eventually trade in or use for retail transactions, because there's a non-trivial chance. It's a very low chance, but it's a non-trivial chance of Weimar-like hyperinflation beginning, not reaching that level, but beginning.
I learned, having moved up to Alaska. This is so interesting to me, but yet it's extremely accurate. One of the greatest long-term investments you can ever make is purchasing firearms. They don't devalue, like ever. They just go up in value. Always. Even old guns, right? So like an M14 in the early 1970s would cost you $200. Now they go for like $2,500. So that used one from the 1970s, you could still easily get like $1,500, $1,600 for it. You spent $200.
Yeah, when I was in Texas, I had a Mini 14 with a collapsible stock, pre-ban. It was fucking awesome. My wife got that.
Yeah, invest in guns, folks. I had an economics teacher in high school, and he would say guns and butter, food and firearms, are technically, in case of a dilemma, those are the greatest investments you could have.
Well, long-term food supplies, absolutely, and the weaponry to protect it, of course, because just as with bullion, right, gold and silver bullion, you purchased $200 worth of gold 50 years ago, and today it's worth however many dollars, right?
Mm-hmm.
The purchasing power of that money has either retained its value or has likely slightly grown,
mm-hmm.
right? It's not like that suddenly, the $200 is now worth $2,500. Those are just arbitrary numbers. Think about the purchasing power
mm-hmm.
behind that asset. And for the firearms or any weaponry or food, that value becomes asymptotic, right? It just goes right off the charts in any tangible emergency.
Apparently, we got our word from the day from you already. Did you say asymptotic?
Yes, an asymptote, asympto, asymptote, T-O-T-E or T-O-P-E. I forget now.
Okay.
But if you think about a graph becoming, increasing, then hitting a line that just goes like straight up, it seems to be completely vertical, right? It doesn't actually hit the full 90 degrees. It's always continually increasing to that higher point. That's an asymptote, right? The value is basically logarithmically, unmeaningfully, infinite in terms of human relation, like the number billion or trillion, right? I can say the number, but I really can't quite grasp it the same way I can grasp, 12 dozen or a gross, right? That I can get my head around. So yeah.
Nice. Word of the day from Wolf Aurelius. Oh, before when you were having your little glitchy thing coming up to the stage, it just popped in my head. What's with the so you go by the term Wolf Aurelius? Is that like Marcus Aurelius? What's with the Aurelius part?
Yeah, Marcus Aurelius, right, is someone I try to remember to be a little bit more like in terms of being moderate and obeying the directions of my mind, my active awareness, rather than my unconscious awareness or my emotions.
Gotcha.
Yeah, but I believe it would be asymptote, not asymptote. Yep.
So A-S-Y-M-P, asymptote,
Yes.
T-O-T-E, asymptote.
Love
Okay.
it.
Right.
Not to be confused with the tote that you carry your simp around in. There's plenty of those dudes.
Don't they wear puppy masks and have ass tails and things like that?
So you say we're never going to catch you at a furry convention, Wolf?
No, not me. Certainly not me. Nick Fuentes, maybe, but not me.
Oh, jeez. Have you ever heard of bronies?
Yes, I have.
There's some maniacs out there, right?
I've got a horrifying brony.
That was a
video for you.
joke in our office. Like if you left your computer, you're unlocked, they would change your background screensaver to brony.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah, I mean, it was like the most horrible thing you could do to everyone.
That is pretty messed up.
It was just to enforce that people need to lock their computer screen when they're gone.
That's a lesson learned. I think that's... Oh, yeah, we got upside down data phenomenon. Data. Welcome. I'm noticing a lot of folks with upside down pictures lately. It makes I just think that they're down at the South Pole.
Yeah, he's been doing his text upside down too.
Oh, I got a request coming in, and it is Mr. Data himself. He is approved. Good morning there, Mr. Data.
How's it going?
Not too shabby.
No, there's one dude that we hang out with a lot. His picture is upside down. So I flipped my picture upside down and my name upside down, and then other people started doing it too. So it's
Very interesting.
Is it like having the flag upside down? Does it mean distress?
Yeah, it's another way of looking at it.
Yeah, that's why you just want to ask because, you need to know. Is that distress? Are you in distress?
no, just yeah, I don't know, but I had a couple drinks. I'm like, hey, this dude's picture is upside down, and he's cool. I'm just gonna flip mine upside down too.
I'm assuming the drinks are at another time. It's a little bit early for drinking on the East Coast, but hey, whatever you're into. Maybe your night
It's
shift.
been a couple days. No. If I was in distress, quote unquote, I would put like a no quarter flag as my PFP.
There you go.
Sorry, I'm just looking at some comments here on the YouTube side that this is streaming out to. Somebody wrote, "Hi Eric, interesting timing. Your name has come up recently in podcasts discussing Antarctica." Well, that's great news. It's about time people start connecting the dots on some of this stuff.
Yeah, it's cool that you've got all the integration is ready now, and you're able to stream on everything all at once.
Yeah, almost. I can basically hit 3 different platforms at a time, and I'm just currently hitting 2. Yeah, I think if I go out to 3, actually, let me see. Yeah, I think I could potentially do 3 right now without it, the streaming rate for the house being screwed up. I mean, the studio can do it. It's just a matter of whether or not the carrier can cover it. So this is all part of practicing and getting things dialed in.
Oh yeah, I think I've been seeing these spaces on YouTube now.
Yes, I forgot to fire this one up on time. It was a half an hour delay. I started at 9 o'clock local, but didn't realize I hadn't hit the video stream to go live until about a half an hour in. So if anybody missed the first half hour, it's going to only be in the X space audio only, but currently streaming out to YouTube. Oh, and X live stream currently. I could also stream to Facebook, and I could also stream to my own website. So I basically have 4 platforms I could stream to in total, with the limitation for my studio setup that I could maximize out to 3 at any one time. But all of this stuff is growing.
I wonder if there are any like syndication services where you can stream to one service, so you're only uploading once, and then it syndicates it from that central service outwards.
Restream provides that, which I'm currently using right now to distribute to the 2 platforms in their free capacity. But then if you want to distribute to more than 2 at a time, so 3 or more, you have to start incurring fees. And boy, do they add up fast. I mean, if you want to distribute to 8 platforms at once, I think it's like $350 a month. It's ridiculous.
Ooh, interesting.
Yeah.
I wonder if I could set up my own central service and charge like 50% of what they're charging.
Fair enough.
You can also turn it into a podcast by downloading the recording of the space and then transcoding that and publishing that to the podcast feeds.
Is that free?
Mostly.
What are these podcast fees you're referencing?
The feeds are like Apple and all the, there are other ones, I don't remember the names of them, where people get their podcasts from.
Interesting. Something to consider. Ooh. My ankle's feeling slightly better. I don't know if anybody recalls from last week, but I took a nice spill on the ice recently and destroyed my left ankle. So I'm still.
Well, you want to luge or what do we?
No, I don't even want to look at the luge right now, Par. It makes my foot hurt thinking about it.
Oh my God.
Yeah. So just on the mend from that, and eating copious amounts of ibuprofen on the regular. The swelling has gone down drastically, which is like a double-edged sword. So it's like, I guess when it was swollen, I had my own issues, but now that the swelling has gone down, there's like flexibility occurring that I'm like, ooh, that hurts. Ooh, that hurts. Don't move that way. Don't move that way. The good news was that I didn't do it to my bad ankle, because I can't even. I had destroyed my right ankle years ago on a job site, and I guess I'm glad I didn't do it to that one again. So I guess now I got a matching set of bad ankles instead of just one really bad one. Just leveling out the playing field. Pretty soon I'm going to be like you, Par. They're going to have to roll me around.
Oh, I hear you. It's no fun.
Oh, I can't imagine.
You know, I have my own self-powered machine to do that.
Mm-hmm.
But, you know, it's just my left side's weak. I can walk with the cane for about 700 meters.
Mm-hmm.
It's hard to travel. Like, when I travel, it's hustling into the plane and getting to the hotel and then renting a scooter wherever I'm at.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it sounds like that would be really annoying.
It's easy in Vegas because I know everything.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I don't like to go to new places or foreign places that I don't know.
I could follow that. Yeah, I mean, we take for granted the simple things in life, like being able to walk around.
Yeah, I'm not jumping in the ocean and swimming around anymore. I miss that. Like, in a swimming pool, I swim, but, you know, like if I try to traditional swim, I'll just go around in circles because my left arm isn't going to cut it. So I'd be stuck swimming in circles.
Holy shark bait.
Pretty much.
Yeah, it's been teetering around the high 20s here in Alaska, and it feels wonderfully warm. Been able to go outside with just a fleece on. Tomorrow's February 1st, right? Yeah, things will start changing here drastically. The days are getting longer rapidly, so yeah, it's nice to have some more sunshine. And then yeah, we got a big dump of snow the other day. The roads were ruthless. I'm pretty good in inclement weather, and I just have a regular work van, 8-cylinder, rear-wheel drive, no four-wheel, nothing fancy, and I've been dealing with that my whole life, and it's all about momentum. Just keep rolling.
Oh yeah,
and you're good, right? So I was
it's 23 degrees here on the boardwalk.
That's warmer here.
11-degree wind chill.
That's funny.
Yeah, we dodged a bullet this weekend because there was going to be snow, but the system moved more off in the ocean, so I don't have that problem now.
Yeah, I was laughing looking at the weather across the country, and it was warmer in Alaska than a lot of the lower 48. Oh, I also saw a really hilarious video. It was somewhere in Texas. They had I don't know, maybe 2 inches of snow on the highway, and it was utter pandemonium. People were literally turning around on the highway and going in the other direction to just, I don't know what they were thinking. There was just cars going everywhere.
That's insane. I lived in Chicago for a little while, and Ohio, and snow. It's just snow. Hit the gas.
Yeah, figure it out. It just switches.
They don't
to
have all
driving.
weather tires, though.
You learn how to coast around corners and stuff. You just figure it out.
It's only 2 inches of snow. I mean, for real. That's nothing. You don't need snow tires for that.
I would get the, I don't know how you say it, the Nitto DWS, so dry wet snow. Those were good all year tires.
But yeah, people let the tires go bald in those places a lot, so they don't you know, they might get
I could
scared
see
and
if you
turn
got
around.
yeah, if you got some fucking baloney skins on your car, you're in deep shit. I could see that being an issue. Good morning there, Mr. Daz.
What the heck are baloney skins on a car?
Baloney skins are what we call them when your tires are like totally bald. So like, you know, when you see like a roll of baloney at the deli and it's just slick on the
Right,
outside.
smooth and slick.
Smooth and slick. So like, yeah, like literally we called them baloney skins when somebody's tire was like, there was like literally no tread pattern left.
I saw a video last week of a fellow in India doing, using and basically repurposing bald tires by carving new treads into them. It was fucking horrifying.
Mm-hmm. I've seen those videos. It's wild. Yeah, I worked at a company one time that they put retreads on all the vehicles, and yeah, they were crap. Hey, Daz, I see you got your hand up there. What's going on in the UK?
Yeah, because you tried to say hello and then like the conversation was still going. So I said, it's all right. I'll just wait patiently till you can come to me.
Oh, you're a gentleman.
Yeah, thank you. So are you. And just wanted to say hi. It's been different not having your spaces on a daily basis. I felt like they really kind of grounded me, you know, as I was.
I appreciate that.
No, it's true. It's true. I really got into them, and I get things change and that. So I saw. I think I had notifications on for data. Mm-hmm. I was like, oh, okay. Eric's got a space on. It's really cool, and I just wanted to pop in and say hi.
Nice. Well, maybe that could be your weekend routine now, because that looks like all I'll have available for the time.
You're going to be doing a weekend
for now.
Yeah. That's so Sundays as well.
Yes, I plan on doing one tomorrow morning as well.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, it's good to connect. Are you not in that the UFO leaders chat? I didn't see the space in there. Like, do I need to add you in there? Because you're a host. You should be in there.
Yeah. Usually Sarah promotes the space in there.
Are you talking about some sort of like chat room thing?
Do you not like the chats? Are they too much, Eric? Are they too much?
I don't like being in group chats, but I appreciate the thought.
They are a bit much.
Yeah, we usually share them anyway, so.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, by all means, if I post links to things and you want to share them around to folks that you think would be interested, I would completely appreciate that.
They are a lot. Like I prefer spaces and connecting in spaces. Mm-hmm. When the chats start getting too big, it's just I cannot keep up there. And I'm added to a number of them, and I am not reading everything that's going on in the chat. And when I'm seeing people just constantly in the chat and then they're also in spaces, I'm like, do you not have a life? How are you able to be in spaces and respond to everything on the chat? And I don't get it. I can't. It's overwhelming.
I'm glad you put it that way, because that's kind of how I feel. It's like, it's just, I feel so many people are crippled in life when they're at that level of engagement with the digital realm, and it makes me think less of them. I'll be completely honest. Like, it's just, holy fuck, go out in the woods and hug a tree.
It just depends. Also, it's like being in line at the AK in London. You get up, finally get to the door, and the door boy goes, "Had enough of you."
Yeah, I mean, I like living in Alaska because it's beautiful out, and it's very refreshing every single time you exit the house. I feel bad for people that spend that much time. How can you respond to every one of those comments? How can you have that much engagement with the unreal world?
Yeah, it is the unreal world, but I do value the connections that I make on here. Like, as much as they're limiting, they're also quite rewarding. And I feel it's only fair to let you know, because your name has kind of like come up the last few days because of that whole blackface thing. It's still kind of like, I'm still finding myself having to defend the situation for you.
Daz, let it slide. Don't even put any energy to it. It's all on them. If they want to make accusations, it's on them.
I'm a defensive guy for the people that I respect, right? And then I ended up kind of getting attacked on Wednesday, and
that's what's going to wind up happening is they're just going to shift gears because they're getting no traction in the angle of attack by coming at me. This is a great example, right? There's now a whole bunch of people talking behind my back about unsubstantiated claims. You know why they have to talk behind my back, Daz? Because they fail when they make the accusations to my face.
Question, Daz, and Derek, you both just mentioned something about blackface. What the hell? What?
I don't even know if we need to go over it again. And
I'll just briefly go over it because there's no reason not to. So, Wolf, I was in a conversation with someone months ago, and somebody was talking about a book and having it printed, and they stated they wanted to have black pages with white text, and in that capacity, we were having a conversation and expressed to the wannabe author that we just simply didn't think that that's a good idea, that it might be a weird way to publish a book.
Sounds awful.
Right?
Sounds awful.
And in the vein of that conversation, we tried in a humorous way to explain how it would be like as big a failure as trying to do blackface contemporarily, that it wouldn't go over well.
Right. You'd have to be either Ted Danson or Justin Trudeau.
Exactly. So in that conversation, it was clipped to then say something to the effect of Hecker's a racist. He said blackface.
Anyone that uses terms like racist or Nazi or fascist,
right,
or big.
No, but it's not even that though. It's because I'm black and I'm one of the few black people in this community, and I wasn't involved in this conversation. That was thrown in my face because I called him Dr. Hecker, to be like, you're an idiot for calling him Dr. Hecker because he's a racist. That's basically the nut and the bolt of it. True, right?
Totally, but Daz, you see how stupid this stuff is, right? So my grandfather used to say, never engage a fool by their folly. So there's folly being had by fools. Just don't engage. You'll be better off for it. They'll find somebody else to attack. Their games are attack, divide, cause fake feuds, because they can't win when feuding with me. They take the fake feud somewhere else to talk behind my back.
Yeah, and attack the black guy. So now I'm going to fight back, and I'm going to be like, you're actually the racist one.
Right, so now they're going to call you a racist supporter. How stupid is that, Daz?
Or an Uncle Tom and that. And that's why I'm not standing for it. So the last 2 days, my fire came out.
That's ridiculous.
So your name did get brought into it because it's all kind of come from that conversation that I was not involved in. But just because I'm black, they used that to throw at me. So I'm just handing it back and exposing these fools.
Yeah, they're trying to mobilize you. You know, they're trying to use your skin color to push an agenda, right?
Yeah, and that's racist.
In the UK, shouldn't it be Uncle Thomas, a little more formal? Uncle Tom just sounds so American.
Well, I ain't not Uncle Tom, because when I'm ready, I will stand up and defend my people. I have no problems doing that. And the thing is, this community just don't really know me. Like, they've literally just seen one side to me, and they're learning other sides. And, you know, we're all dynamic people.
Well, I mean, not for nothing, Daz. Good on you. I mean, if that's the fight that you want to fight, I respect you for fighting to win.
I'm just making a point.
Yeah, no, it's fair. I just, you know, it's a double-edged sword for me. In one breath, I would say, you know, they're trying to waste your energy. I would say that is their effort. But if through the application of your efforts, you can kick ass and take names, there's value to that.
I'm sending a message. Simple as that. I let it go past once. She came in again and attacked me again publicly. And I said, all right, enough. Right? So now I'm making a point.
The quip that your uncle or grandfather said to you, Eric, reminds me of something I heard, which says, never argue with idiots. Onlookers won't be able to know the difference or tell the difference.
Yes.
Right.
I've heard a variation of that was they'll drag you down to their level, beat you with experience, and the onlookers won't be able to tell you apart.
That's it. Yeah, it's a couple of different ones together. That's
it's
like being on
really
The View.
disappointing.
Yeah, no, I've moved on. I'm just letting him know because his name's come up a number of times when he wasn't there. It's as simple as that.
I
Like, I'm
appreciate
done.
that. Yeah, people love talking behind my back because they can't come into these spaces and gain ground with their stupidity in a real conversation.
The next one they use after racist or bigot or so on is anti-Semite or fascist or Nazi, and few of
Dumb
them
plumber.
understand
I get
those
dumb
words
plumber all the
actually-
time.
People actually
Patrick
say that to
Bet-David,
you.
Oh yeah, yeah. Somebody who uses applied physics is dumb.
Yeah, exactly.
Some of the smartest men and women work with their hands, with embodied learning, with muscle memory, and their brains, their minds are allowed to work on other problems, right, subconsciously while they're using other aspects of their embodied intelligence. It's one of the stupidest criticisms I've ever heard. Like it's authentically a stupid criticism to think that someone who does non-academic work, right, embodied work, is somehow not employing intelligence or rationality or skill more than anything.
Yeah, it just shows
It's
that
one of the stupidest things.
it's them displaying their lack of understanding for that which they are criticizing.
Yeah, the funniest thing I think I've ever heard on Spaces was someone trying to cancel Science Bob. You know, like, if you think you can do math better than Bob, you're out of your mind.
Doesn't Bob have a Q clearance?
Believe so.
Yeah. If we're employing dumb people and like the DOE and giving them Q clearances, well, we've got bigger problems.
I'm so dumb that I got a job at the South Pole Station for a year that probably thousands of people applied for the exact same role that I got. I must be a bonehead.
The entire premise, not premise, this is the wrong word, but one of the most essential foundational elements to modern civilization is sanitation engineering. And plumbing is directly tied to that. You don't have cities, you don't have thousands of human beings and animals living together in close proximity without sanitation, clean water, and waste management. And plumbing is essential to that.
Oh, absolutely. It's I would often said that civilizations rise and fall based on the skill set of the plumbers they have in their society.
Yeah, think of plumbers or plumbing as basically applied civil engineering.
I'm even finding it interesting. I follow Ashton Forbes here on X, but I don't necessarily watch all the stuff that he puts out, but I read a lot of his posts. And one of the things that he wrote recently was how people are learning that plasma very much operates or operates more like a liquid than a gas. And my brain laughed because I still said, well, either way, if it operates like a liquid or a gas, sounds like something that just needs some proper plumbing to make it do what we want it to do. And it just seems easy for me to consider that plumbers should be engaged in the conversation of plasma physics, because if it operates like liquids and gases,
Then fluid dynamics, right?
yeah, fluid dynamics, something I'm very versed in. And I've worked around enough scientists to realize the limitations they harbor when they get off of paper and calculations when it comes to actually wielding the tools, piping the systems. We should probably have some really highbrow plumbers start communicating with the plasma physicists and see what could be accomplished.
This might sound bizarre, and I don't mean to be contrarian, but I don't necessarily want highbrow people there, because there's enough highbrow people there already. I'd like someone who's provably intuitively correct more often than not, someone who's actually able to channel their experience, their muscle memory, and their basically their unconscious awareness, right? The intelligence of their unconscious awareness to other systems, right?
Yes, we should also
similar to
put
the
an idiot
wonderment
there.
of children.
Like, also put an idiot there. Give him a sandwich, some coffee, PlayStation. Just have him watch, because he'll probably see something that nobody else sees too. I'm just saying.
That's another way to frame it. Someone who is not, who doesn't have the limitations of professional blinders on, right? Those blinders shape and direct your energy, but without them, you're going to miss some things. So yeah, there needs to be that level of observation as well. Certainly.
I was just trying to get myself a job.
I think I might have did a poor job of trying to illustrate what I was getting at, but I think what you guys did was make the correction. So in a way, I was kind of tongue in cheek, joking about the value of the scientists, the highbrow folks, and the plumbers being more the presumed idiot in the equation, to kind of get at what you guys were just saying, is that yes, they're not as highbrow as they like to believe that they are, and just some standard quality plumbers in the mix might help them to see outside the boundaries of the margins of the paper that they're working with.
Oh, no, I know. I was really just trying to give myself a job with some sandwiches and coffee and PlayStation.
There's a phrase that kind of captures that. Stop seeing what you know and start knowing what you see.
Oh my God, I love that. That's like, I could equate that to when people are trying to troubleshoot a problem and they go in there with what they think is the matter versus observing the failure as presented.
Quote, it can't possibly be that. That never happens, unquote.
Totally. That's one of the things that I taught me to observe Occam's razor better was diagnosing failures, because so many people will run into the room and start going to the list of things that happen the most, which I get there's some value to that, but it causes them to become hyper-focused on what fails the most, when that's not necessarily what failed today. And they'll spend lots of time trying to fix the easy, common remedy, while oftentimes overlooking the complex failure that occurred right before their eyes.
Have you heard of a corollary to Occam's razor called Hanlon's razor? Hanlon, Hanlon's razor? Oh, I don't hear anyone. Hanlon's razor offers that you should not ascribe to malice what could be more easily described or better attributed to stupidity. I think Hanlon might have been a CIA agent, because to discount malice or some other form of vested subterfuge-based interest is to ignore the practical realities of human beings. So take Hanlon's razor with some caution.
I don't know. Have you been on X?
Say again, please.
Sorry, just having some technical difficulties. But I had
I was
not
wondering
heard
where
of
you was.
I had not heard of Hanlon's razor, specifically titled that way, but I was familiar with how you defined it. Uh-oh. Can you guys still hear me? Yay.
Yes, sir.
Good. Things are getting a little bit glitchy on the X, so I'm just trying to make some accommodations here.
Yeah, back in the 90s, in irrigation, we used to use a modeling software called Kentucky Pipe. It's now called KY Pipe, and you can see it at kypipe.com if you ever need to do the math for building big pipe structures for fluid dynamics.
Figures the plumbers would turn it into something called KY pipe. As if the industry doesn't have enough filthy terms for everything going on in it.
Yeah, you know, it was pretty cool because working that job was good. You know, my main boss, the owner of the company, his brother was the security person at the Tokyo embassy.
Uh-huh.
So, like, he was the guy. I mean, for CIA, so he was at the State Department, but for CIA, the security guy has to destroy all the documents. He's the guy who burns everything. So I met that guy. He was cool.
Nice. It looks like, Daz, you got your hand up far away.
Sorry, was stuck in that chat. All right. I apologize. Just
No worries.
shifting the conversation just quickly because I'm just wanting to check with Eric. The Gene that used to come in your spaces, is he the one who's pulled away from social media?
That's what I just heard this morning, apparently.
Yeah, I broke it to him.
I really was getting to appreciate Gene, and if it wasn't for your spaces, Eric, I wouldn't have got to know his energy and, like, you know, that intellect. Like, he was so dynamic, but it was coming into your spaces who I even knew who he was, and it looked like he had another account. Did he have a podcast as well then?
I don't know of another account. I do feel like I just saw him the other day in some sort of group podcast that was going on, and the host was streaming it, and it looked like Gene was also re-streaming it. And now that I think about it, that's probably the last activity that I saw Gene engaged with.
Yeah, that post came a couple of days ago. I think his wife is really unwell, so he's kind of taken a choice to step back so he can focus on that. So I did respond on that post. If I see it, I'll forward it to you so you can read. But it looked like him and everything. Yeah, I think he met Science Bob in that James Fox hearing about the Brazil thing, and that he was there, you know. So
oh, that's right. Yeah, I did see pictures of Gene present at that. It just, I mean, I'll be frank, as I always am. Just seems weird to me that somebody would actually negate their presence versus just not engage. That's a little bit weird to me.
I guess we're all different.
Understood.
I'm with you. Yeah, it's something that I wouldn't do, but I've seen many others do it. So it's just how different people think, I guess.
Absolutely. To each their own, whatever blows your hair back. But yeah, I mean, it's, you know, I mean, and I've been critical of Gene for this, both privately and publicly, of whom he associates with. So I also can't negate, and I would say this if Gene was right here, maybe he closed his account for completely different reasons. I mean, Gene is a total intel guy. Maybe the story of, oh, my wife is sick, gotta go.
Yeah, maybe he had to He has a job he's got to do.
Maybe he's no longer on the mission he was sent to do. All of these things are on the table. They're all possible.
But all
he was
prayers from that.
he was technically hanging around a bunch of douchebags.
That's why I love coming in this space. You always open my mind to so many different ways that I haven't thought of. So,
right.
Okay.
He was hanging around with all the bad dudes from one side of the fake feud and making statements like, hey, I'm just here to listen to everyone and all of that stuff. But this is, I lost my mic there. What's going on?
Did we lose you, Eric?
I think I'm back. It just did one of them auto mutes on me. Again, and I'm not saying any criticism that I haven't said to Gene before. He's, stated that he, doesn't necessarily support those guys, but is just there to absorb and learn. But, this, as the clock ticks away, and he's apparently removed himself from the conversation under the statement of, my wife is sick, gotta go. As I said, that seems a little bit excessive. And it may or may not be accurate when coming from a guy who's been in the trade of deception. I mean, these are worthy conversations. If Gene was here, he would say, well, technically you're right. As a tradesman in this trade, you're right that these are the tactics that would be wielded.
And he's always gotten his jobs. They approached him. So
don't take everything at face value, basically, innit? Don't take everything.
You should take nothing online at face value.
Yeah, nothing.
It is a stage for people to present accordingly, lest you believe that the man in between us on the stage is a Roman dog.
Very, very good point. Listen,
Right.
Eric, no, I have to go. I'm co-hosting a autism and social media space in 7 minutes. So I'll see you soon. All right. Take care, guys.
Absolutely, Slayer. Have a great day.
You too. Bye-bye.
Have a good one, Daz.
Yeah, I mean, interesting situation going on with Gene. I hope that his wife is fine, but it'll be interesting to see how things pan out. Yeah, I mean,
either way.
But yeah, he just went to that. He just went to the circus event in D.C. So it's weird. Just trying to check to see if I can get the phone to reconnect as a backup, since I was getting glitchy. What time is it? 10:24. It's 10:24. Do you know where your children are? Remember that from back in the day, Par? It's 10 p.m. Do you know where your children are?
Yes, I actually do. Because I was a child, they were wondering where the hell I was.
I was a latchkey kid. Nobody gave a damn where I was.
Yeah, in the 80s I was. In the 70s, I was just free and running.
I think I have an appropriate amount of coffee in me today. It's a beautiful thing. Yeah, got a decent amount of people that showed up here today. Ooh, I'm not even sure if I'm hearing myself. Hello, hello, Hello.
We hear you.
Oh, okay. Just going to do a quick little switcheroo.
I'm just busy. I'm listening.
Just switching over to the phone here so that I can instigate a reset on the laptop before it jams up. It's the weirdest thing what I've observed from using the X platform and the gear that I have is it's like I can only stay on for so long, and then the audio will start to get dead spots, and then the mic button will seize up. And the only thing that I've figured out to overcome it is to just, drop the conversation on a platform. So now I'm on the cell phone, and I'll wind up rebooting the laptop and then just keep switching back and forth, basically. I mean, if I didn't do it this way, I don't know how I would stay in a space for probably more than an hour. It would just jam up on me.
Yeah, on my phone I have that. Like the mic will not stop working, or it'll flip back and forth on its own, and I can't control it.
Up. I see my favorite Canadian down there in the listeners' corral. Good morning, Ocean.
Our ice road trucker is here.
That is true. No disrespect to you, Wolf. I have to have a favorite. You could be my second favorite Canadian. My second favorite subject of the ground.
Honk honk.
You know what that means?
That's the Canadian hello. No, I'm just chilling. We downloaded a Minecraft mod that gives you different types of TNT and dynamite. So we're blowing stuff up right now, just hanging out Sunday. How are you guys doing?
Cold.
It's Saturday, Ocean. Saturday.
Oh, okay, Saturday. We had Friday was a weekend day too. I get a long weekend this weekend.
Oh, hell yeah. 3-day weekend? That's amazing.
We have Groundhog Day Monday here.
Oh, Mondays are the worst. I would rather have Monday off than have Friday off. It's like, let me just have one extra Sunday. Heck yeah. But then Tuesday would just become Monday. I think the case of the Mondays, it doesn't matter which day it is. It's just your first day back. That's the back to the grind.
Yeah, I agree. We need a 7-day weekend for sure.
Oh, those are great. I like the title, Cawffee Talk. Facts over fiction. What are some facts that y'all were spitting?
Oh, we were more discussing earlier the concept of the need for facts to be prioritized over fiction, and I guess we touched on the recent Corbell video that dropped. Once again, something without any provenance, just thrown out there, and everybody's going to wind up bickering about its value. And, to me, the value as applied by those wielding it is to cause the bickering, because people are arguing about something that can't be substantiated. Who took the video? Who brought it out? It's par for the course for the shenanigans of disclosure as usual. Basically, people will keep bickering about fiction because they're certainly not engaging any facts. And I see Wolf has his hand up. Go ahead, sir.
Yes, Eric, what you're describing is a step in a chain of reasoning. What is disclosure downstream of? Right? What are the upstream causes of a lot of the political corruption we see, right? The oaths that our politicians, when they're elected legitimately, the oaths they take to uphold, to preserve and defend the Constitution, they seem to be pro forma, rituals meant for public spectacle rather than for genuine weight to attach to. And that's because ultimately they don't face any political consequences. I want to be clear about that. Political consequences for not prosecuting or promulgating the interests of the citizenry as those interests are enshrined and embodied in the political manifesto of the Declaration of Independence and in the Constitution and in the Bill of Rights. A return to that fidelity to what it means to be an American whose political identity is primarily meant to be centered around liberty and the non-trespass upon unalienable human rights by government, right? That is the upstream fix for a lot of this, but it is such an important and heavy and difficult problem to begin solving, and it will not have immediate payoffs, right? It may be a multi-generational payoff that most of us, fallible and weak and prone and wonderfully delightfully human that we are, seem to fall for conspiratainment instead. It's a lot easier to enjoy the dramas of life than it is to realize that if we take back our local politics first, that is the soil from which all the other fruits of politics grow from. Yet we are continually encouraged to look at the top of the pyramid and try to obtain purchase, right? A handhold there. This is an inversion of the way things are meant to be.
I love when you use the word conspiratainment. I don't use that one enough in my conversations, but that's the state of the union. I like that you used the term stream. What I've been saying for a while now, it's like we look at these content creators, podcasters, whatever you want to call them, and they all say things like, I just let everyone talk and I let the audience decide. I find that lazy and cowardly. It allows everybody to come to the river of truth, the stream, and throw anything in. No filter on the front end. So it muddies the waters, and the listeners are downstream from this activity, and then they're being forced to do the filtering. And they're not doing it. They're arguing about how good the muddy water tastes or not, when instead of putting their efforts towards the filtering process, which is challenging, what they should do is just go upstream and challenge the people that are muddying the waters to put more effort in and be more bold of position.
Yes. Yeah. Keep an open mind, but not a mind so open that it can accumulate garbage, right?
Absolutely.
If I could add to that too, there's certain characters that have like hitched their wagon to the disclosure movement. So it's it's almost like they represent disclosure, right? They talk like they do it, and then so when you criticize disclosure, those people that are really, like I have idols that I love too, like I love Greer, right? But at the same time, if someone questions disclosure, I don't consider that they're questioning Greer directly. And so I think that's what's happening is some people are so tied so close to this that like if you criticize it, they take it as like you're criticizing them or like their peers or you know what I mean, that their personal experience. If you've gone through something, you feel tied to the phenomenon and you want disclosure and someone comes in as critical, you feel like some type of personal pressure. So I think focusing on facts over feelings is really important too. Like, yes, feelings are important, but like the facts are more important than like how you feel about it, I guess. Sorry.
Absolutely. I would simply say we could take the personalities, right? The disclosure personalities. If we removed them from the conversation and we just simply discussed their activities, right? If we left the name out and we said person X is doing this, 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 and this, and we had a real conversation about the activities, then we would accomplish more. But people are getting way too caught up in the personalities and their affinity for, or their distaste for. That's what's causing the bickering. It's literally just like my football team versus your football team, my God versus your God. Like it's fake feuding that's being manufactured, because there's nothing that keeps interested factions from engaging this community with intent to control the narrative and apply perception management. It's rampant. Nobody wants to discuss that. They just, oh, everybody's calling everybody a Fed. Feds say that because it covers their ass pretty fucking good.
If I may, Eric, I'd like to build off of that, and I'd like to characterize it less as such friction is being manufactured so much as it is being nourished, because it is a natural default for human beings to resort to an in-group, out-group dynamic. It is a survival mechanism based in and around pro-social behavior, so that you can very easily allocate trust. Right? This is why binary thinking, that the black and white of Freemasonic checkerboards and chessboards, is such an important and alluring symbology, because if it's not this, it's that, right? It's approved, it's not approved. It's my tribe inside or not. And you don't have to engage in all that messy thinking and that messy disentangling of loyalties and incentives that actually should be operating. And it's very easy to frame things that way. So, you know, we're cutting the wood, but they're feeding the fire of our own continued friction and tribalism. And it's hard to escape from that, again, because it's easier to describe and bemoan, as I'm doing now, than it is to actually have difficult conversations with people and model to them the entire idea of changing your mind because of evidence. And I have done this in the past. I'm not proud of it, but I have purposefully adopted a position, not with friends, not with people who I consider trusted, but with possible friends, right? Possible acquaintances. I've adopted positions that I knew could be easily disproved as factually incorrect, or be otherwise swayed to a more moderate position with evidence, so that I could allow someone else to see what changing your mind based on evidence is like, and how that feels and what it looks like, so that then they are more open and willing to do that if I present information I want them to come around to. It's sneaky, it's manipulative, but it need not necessarily be nefarious. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I follow that. It in my brain, as you were saying that, it made me, how do I put this? I don't think people put enough consideration to, like, what is evidence? You know, imagine if you had a court, so to say, and just every damn thing was thrown in as evidence for the court case, and you just kept more and more and more. Like, there's no way to come to a conclusion. You get what I'm like stretching at here?
Yes. In scientific circles, and I'm not a scientist, but they talk about evidence, and then they talk about good evidence, strong evidence, weak evidence, right? Not all evidence is created the same. There's also fringe evidence, which should not be discounted, right? It's still evidence, but it's on the fringe, right? A lot of things we take for granted today, right? The germ theory of disease, the value of hand washing, at one point was considered to be fringe science, right? Ignaz Semmelweis, an Austro-Hungarian physician, I believe, was ridiculed and hounded into essential squalor and madness by the end of his career, because he was encouraging people to practice hand washing in the medical profession. He was insisting that it would help reduce the spread of disease and suffering, and he was absolutely ridiculed for it. But he had fair evidence, right, that is now, we now know because we've developed it, that actually should have been considered strong evidence. And people often mistake two important categories, evidence and proof, right? They're not, do you have any proof? Proof is a lot stronger than evidence, right? I don't like to talk about proof so much. That's much more a mathematical term. Evidence can be weighted into, strong and weak, and whatever's in between those two things. And very rarely do you have access to strong evidence. Right?
I agree. There should be some sort of standard, I guess, for lack of a better term, of qualifying evidence that's presented in the disclosure conversation. Is, you know, is this strong evidence? Is it weak evidence? Is it fringe evidence? And I don't see that happening enough, which brings us back to that river of truth, that all evidence is being thrown in instead of being, you know, qualified first to be part of the conversation. You know, who's, you know, somebody throws a video on the internet, some random video, new video released that is evidence of blah, blah, blah. Well, where'd the video come from?
Exactly.
I guess, could I add in too that a lot of
Sure.
it is like, what's it called? Like just validating an already existing opinion. So like some people will look away from certain evidence and only focus on evidence that already like validates what they believe instead of like considering all the evidence, or they'll take something that could be potential evidence if we have more information and then say that is exactly what it is and this is evidence for my experience or for what I'm trying to convey, right? So it's like looking at the facts through like your own little rose-colored lens pretty much, and not seeing the facts for like their entirety of what they actually are. I think like misrepresentation and then confirmation bias is really important. I'm now learning about portals. Yeah, there's portals in this game too.
Yeah, like just in the grand scheme of, you know, using myself as an example in the community, right? Like I'm a real person with a real name that has a real experience and real documents and pictures and video. And I've inserted myself into the conversation in the community, and I have to go up against what I would just call randos, you know, some fake picture, some fake name, unsubstantiated speculations. And I'm observing that the community gives the same weight to both parties and info streams, which I find really fucked up.
This is a vibration or a resonance or an outgrowth of the wishy-washy standards we have for critical thinking. Very often in fringe areas of discussion, you'll hear people say, well, this is my truth. Well, you either don't understand what the word truth means and what critical thinking employed to arrive at a truth means, or you're being willfully duplicitous. It's one or the other, right? You can't talk about my truth and understand what truth and falsehood are, and then something orthogonal to both of those things, verity, right? If something is verifiable, it has verity. It accords with the facts that you don't like, right? Facts don't depend on feelings or your truth or my truth. There has to be an objective third-party standard that can be used to calibrate the directionality of discourse and to calibrate, right, standard weights and measures for what counts as verifiable and what counts as evidence. And without that standard, discussion often becomes a hamster wheel of tribal identities under the camouflage of evidence or fact-based opinions that are masquerading as, I guess, items of value in a discourse, right? And a lot of people conflate or purposefully mix up debate and discourse, right? There are some things you can debate. They tend to be fact-based. You cannot debate opinions, right? You can have a discourse about them, but you certainly can't debate them. And if you're going to have either a debate or a discourse, it's important to remember one other very crucial element, which most people either don't learn about or don't practice often enough. And I'm as guilty as anyone. And that's something called the principle of charity in the context of philosophy and debate. I'd encourage everyone to look that up rather than have me tell you what it is. The principle of charity.
Yeah, I'm sitting here thinking, like, imagine if somebody inserted themselves into the community conversation and was, you know, claiming to be a new whistleblower and had, some cartoon picture of them, called themselves the Iceman and said, I was also in Antarctica. And Hecker's wrong. But if this person had no evidence of them being in Antarctica, won't say who they are, and all of that stuff, how much do you believe that the community would still jump all over it and be like, look, we have proof that Hecker's wrong because this person is now saying the opposite? The community would engage that all day long, even though it would be some rando.
One of the best examples of this is, even the base in the community for things that have been established, they think for a long time. Like, my best example for me is the McKinnon files. Because, if you were there and you saw when it all went down, a lot of it was because WikiLeaks was backing them because they needed more people. And what a great conspiracy nut people to get. They got more funding, everything. So they backed, and those were, they were fake 20 years ago. They're still fake. That's all I'm saying. You can't establish, a strong, I can't add this flawed things for the base of ufology when it's not real.
Fair enough, but at least at that point, folks are debating of a real person, a real experience, and stuff that can be looked into, unlike a lot of the stuff that's being discussed in the community contemporarily, where it's rando information being presented by rando people.
Very true, but it's the I want to believe that, like Red would always shoot me down about what I say about that, regardless.
Oh, yeah, no, I feel like that I want to believe thing was blatantly manufactured as well. Believing, by definition, means not knowing. So if you say, I want to believe, I hear, I don't want to know.
Eric, if you would, have a look at the Jumbotron above. I shared a quote from William Cooper about education and critical thinking, and I think it would it might do well to have that read out loud by someone other than me.
10-4, I will see if I can pull that one up. Let me see if I can function. Oh, let me try. Okay, it says, quality of education given to the lower class must be of the poorest sort, so that the moat of ignorance isolating the inferior class from the superior class is and remains incomprehensible to the inferior class. With such an initial handicap, even bright lower class individuals have little, if any, hope of extricating themselves from their assigned lot in life. This form of slavery is essential to maintaining some measure of social order, peace, and tranquility for the ruling upper class. Yeah, I would say we're living in the middle of that right now for certain.
In this example, inferior and superior are not meant to have moral weight. They're strictly descriptors, right? In a hierarchy of power, there is one that is above the other. It has no attachment to your moral weight, to your humanity. And when they talk about upper and lower classes, divorce that from the socioeconomic framing we often have been conditioned to accept as standard, right? It's only upper and lower in terms of mapping the relation of power and political reality. How much of your will can be affected in society?
Yeah, that's I mean, this to me is that whole muddying of the waters thing that we were discussing prior. This is just defining the activity.
The Frank Herbert. Whoops, is my mic on now? I can't tell.
I can hear you.
Okay. The Frank Herbert novel Dune is a wealth of information. It's a wonderful read as well. And in it, there's a religious group of warriors called the Fremen, and they are trained fighters and they are believers. And there's a quote relating to education from that book, which I'd like to read. It's a corollary to the education one. And it reads this: the Fremen are civil, educated, and ignorant. They're not mad. They're trained to believe, not to know. Belief can be manipulated. Only knowledge is dangerous. And to understand how to separate, and of course, now I'm adding a thought. To separate knowledge from belief, you need standards of evidence.
Yeah. What that I was discussing before, the standards of evidence. Maybe we should have a chat on that one day. Is the qualifying capacity of the information, it says it like in what you had posted, that, the quality of education. What if we equated that to the quality of evidence in these conversations? Is it superior? Is it inferior? Are we handicapped by engaging bullshit?
Well, there's a lot of bullshit out there, that's for sure. It's kind of like it's hard to sift through and know what is true and what's not. I just want to chime in on the belief and knowing. I think when you know something, you can describe how it happens, why it happens, what happens before and after. That's like knowing it. But then believing is like having an idea or a thought without being able to know how it works or why it got there, right? So you could compare belief to like religion or faith, right? And then knowing something is like taking a class and fully understanding it, right? Belief like lacks that understanding that knowing does, in my mind anyway.
Yeah.
This applies to anyone who accepts what they term evidence based on faith rather than evidentiary standards. So if you're having a discussion with someone, hopefully not a debate, about religion or theology or anything that is ephemeral, if they are going to quote to a special writing, a special book, a special scroll, a special scripture, a story, an example, as their ultimate foundation for why they believe something, and if they conflate that belief with, I know it because it's written in book A, right? That's like a woodpecker trying to peck a hole in a fossilized tree. You're going to get nowhere with that person because they do not understand the difference between knowing something and believing something. And this is similar. This is something we've all experienced as children. When you just don't get something, I just don't get it. And then months or years later, it fucking clicks into, right? That's the difference between showing and telling, right? You can't tell someone. There are many things you can't just tell someone. They have to be shown through bruises and gray hair and wounds in their heart, or great success, or the experience of being a gracious winner, right? In order to realize some of these things. And delineating between people who understand that difference between belief and knowledge is a time saver, and it will save endless amounts of frustration.
Yeah, I would say as a tradesman, my skill set has always been acquired from somebody showing me something. It's way different than telling me. Just show me what you're talking about. Do the thing, and I will absorb it much faster. Looking at some of the comments that I'm getting on YouTube that I'm just a bit interested in, and
read one or two aloud.
I am.
Help us understand.
Yeah,
Okay.
so somebody wrote wisdom of using a fake name when you've been in the SSP or other government projects equals if one loves your family and want to keep your children safe, hide your name and use another one. I would disagree with that. The world needs bolder people than that. And what that would set the stage for is every con job to come in with crap and make unsubstantiated speculations in a random form.
I mean, if someone was to threaten me, like they were going to come, they doxed me and got my address and threatened to come over, I'd be like, go ahead. You have no idea where you're coming.
Right.
You know,
And then
like,
even
you'll probably get carjacked and murdered.
And even back to the qualifying of things, right? As a community, if we were to look at someone who is operating from the bolder position of being public about their stuff versus the hidden participant, we should qualify that too. The real person is the bolder person. The bolder person that's being real, to me, is easily qualified as presumably coming with better information than the rando. Like, to me, this stuff is super simple.
I think too, like living a life of fear is not worth living. So
Right.
it's like, why even bother living a life if I'm going to be worried about this person thinks and that person thinks, and I don't know what my image is or how much money I have in my bank account, like all of these things that just like being worried about those things like makes my life not even desirable to live. So why would I even care, right? And I think people that come more authentically and don't they carry their own morals and they have their own compass and they don't look to others for to reassurance of what they're doing is good, that you're going to get more of their truth, I guess, but the true story, because they're not out here tiptoeing to try to keep everybody else happy, right? So it's like, I always appreciate someone that will just share their mind, whether I like it or not. I like that more than someone who's going to come and put on a face and try to, I don't know, convince me, like you said, shilling or trying to sell me stuff. It's like, come on now. It's like, be real with me, right? But I don't know, a lot of people, I mean, we all get self-conscious. We are communal creatures, but I think it's important to kind of not give a fuck so much.
Absolutely. Why live in fear?
Don't get stressed, because you'll just build up cortisol and it will not be healthy for you.
The very next comment on YouTube is, it doesn't matter your quality of evidence you bring if the judge is corrupt, which I would say that's a true statement. But now going into the disclosure conversation and the community with an appreciation that in the court of public opinion, I find it interesting that the previous comment would set the stage for how corruptible the court of public opinion can become when rando fake name people can insert themselves into the conversation with limited to no liability because they're a rando. To me, these two things, they're interconnected in the problem.
Yeah, the verifiability of identity, I can understand why some people may not want to have their real names out there in all things. That's understandable. However, the weight given to their opinions or the evidence they offer has to be limited by the confirmation factors involved with either their identity or the verifiability of the proof they offer.
I agree. Yes, I can appreciate that someone is scared and doesn't want to put their name out there. But yes, then I also agree with we have to give limited weight to that. I mean, could you imagine if you went to court for something and like, let's say you're accused of something, and then the district attorney puts somebody on the stand that's anonymous. They're in a hood, there's a voice changer, you don't get to know who they are or anything, and they start to testify against you.
Yeah, that of course, we understand you have the right to face your accuser in a court of justice, right? So that then would not be a court of justice, right? It would be a court, but certainly not one of justice. And a lot of people conflate law and order with justice. They believe that in order to achieve justice, you must have law and order. In fact, it's the other way around, right? In order to have law and order, you must have as the root justice, because you have an instinctive understanding of what is just or unjust. Children understand this when they discover the word fair, and they're able to put themselves in the shoes of another person, in terms of mental and moral framing. But Par, I'm curious about something. You mentioned carjackings and murders. Someone visits your neighborhood. Don't dox yourself.
Do not
Is it a
come
big
to
city?
Atlantic City.
Oh,
Don't come to Atlantic City. I mean, even just parking your car in the South Park to go in the casino, they carjack you.
Holy Jesus Christ.
We technically have justice present right now in this court of public opinion.
I am here to judge all and serve justice.
Well-timed arrival.
I was just laughing. I was like, all this talk about justice, and yet here I am.
I loved it. I was hosting, and then I had Justice as my co-host. It's like, it's Ocean and Justice.
Nice. Yeah, I mean, I've been public. I've had people, threaten me. I've been attacked. I had efforts to dox family members occur, and it just makes me laugh because none of that slows my roll. I had mentioned to my sister one time that people were making threats against her because of me. And this was, technically at the time that it occurred, I should say, technically there was a gap between the time that it occurred and the time that I discussed it with her. That was pretty substantial. But then when I wound up getting her ear and engaging her in the conversation to just bring her up to speed and say, hey, listen, the stuff that I'm engaged with has people threatening you technically. So I just want you to be aware. And, I guess we're birds of a feather, and she laughed and was like, yeah, do whatever you got to do. She goes, if anybody comes and ever knocks on my door, they're going to realize the error of their ways. And I was like, yeah, I kind of figured you would be that way. So this is why we didn't discuss it sooner, because I wasn't really concerned. There's a lot of fake threats that could be made. So, I mean, I don't even really care that much when people online are like, I'm scared, I got dogs. And it's like, quit your fucking whining. Holy shit.
Well, here's the thing. You online and all these people posting stuff on your YouTube, we don't have people that are actually going to go show up at your house themselves. What you have is a bunch of beta cowards who are going to try and find out information about you online and then threaten your livelihood and try to basically make you a social outcast. And that's not done alone. That is something that is systematically been developed for people who speak out against the system. And those of us like me, Ocean, you, and Par, when we say things that goes against the system, that automatically makes us targets and makes us, sometimes a social outcast. But I don't care, because I would rather live in my truth than agree with a bunch of retarded assholes.
Yeah, I mean, I've been targeted by the government since I was a teenager. So, I mean, I lived that life already.
I mean, yeah, I had it's not my first run-in with law enforcement, right? Like, not that I have any type of criminal record, but like, I'm friendly with my police. Like, threatening to dox me, like, that does nothing because everyone already knows who I am because I'm not out here doing shady shit, being a menace like these other people are, right? So it's like I have no fear of being doxxed. At the same time, like, I shared an MRI report in a chat, like in a group chat, and then that was shared publicly by like one of the haters. So like they intentionally put out like, you know, private information, or they try to frame me in ways that make me look like a bad person because I'm not one, so they can't use anything from my real life. It's like, you have the right to your privacy, but at the same time, like, those threats only work if you, like I said, if you're out here being a menace. If you're just like a regular person, then yes, like, sorry you lost your privacy, but like, you know, that's about as far as it goes. And I agree with what you're saying about warning people first. Like, I had been in contact with my police before, like, the attempted like swatting, trying to get CPS to like called to my house. So the police already knew that like that type of thing would happen. And I've talked to all the important people in my life, and they're aware that like there's haters online. And like, ever since I was a kid, me and my grandpa had like a code word, but it's the same way. Like, my whole family's like, come over then. I invite them. My grandpa's like, we should go for a drive. How far is it? And I'm like, Grandpa, you're 80. Stop. Stop. But you know what I mean? It's like, usually people that have that mindset, they do have that, hopefully they have that family that supports them and isn't judgmental, or, you know, that type is understanding, right? It's like, usually people that are strong, they got somebody there for them, right? Like, and I hope you all have that person. And if you don't, I will be that person, and I will be there.
Aw. Hey, I'm sorry, Ocean, to interrupt. Eric, will you basically mute my mic because my screen is frozen? So,
Oh, I'm not sure if let's see if I can
or
figure
drop
that
me
out.
down and I'll come back up.
Let's see. Oh, I think I can figure that one out. So I got you as a speaker. I can remove from speakers. There we go. Bum, 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 bum.
We call that a gentle recycle.
There we go. It's the first time I've ever booted Justice. Get the hell out of here, you redneck son of a. There you go. Somebody clip that and say, Eric Hecker hates rednecks. He kicked a redneck out of his space.
A woman
That damn
redneck,
Yankee.
too.
Yeah, woman redneck.
That damn Yankee Eric did this.
Yep. It's so funny. I haven't seen Sombro around in a while, but he said something a few times that always makes me laugh. And he says, we have to learn to monetize the hate. And that makes me laugh. And in a way, I feel like I have figured out how to do that in some form, even though it's not officially monetized. You know, I pay the $7 a month here to be on X, so that I can do the video streaming, get some back-end stats and stuff. And like, yes, theoretically, my account is growing in the direction of being monetized someday. So I'm sure I'll pay $7 a month probably to make $2 back at some point. But in that process, I would say currently I'm in an arena where engagement has value. I don't necessarily get monetized. But when people hate me on X and make all kinds of, you know, comments and things like that, and, you know, it's just as much as I tell other folks, you know, don't engage, don't this, don't that, you know, sometimes I laugh and say my hypocrisy knows no bounds, because when it comes to people commenting on my posts with venom, oh, I engage and I write back, because you know what happens when I do that? They comment again, and then I write back, and then they comment again. Does anybody see where this is going?
That's called trolling, sir. You are trolling.
They're commenting on my post, Ocean. So what winds up happening is I'm giving an education to the audience, anybody who's astute and paying attention. I learn from my enemies, and I'm a big fan of reciprocity. So I'm teaching people that you can be made into a useful idiot. So what I do is I take trolls and I make them work for me. I am developing them as my assets. The more they engage my posts, the more I engage them and they return and engage more, they now work for me. I'm monetizing the hate, so to say.
Oh, that's a good idea. For me, I just I gotta laugh at it because then it takes all the power away. Like you can't do nothing.
Oh, I'm not mad and I don't take it personally. I just look at it as a business maneuver. That's all.
But
And
I
I'm
will
laughing
say-
as I'm typing because the other funny things I learned from verbal judo is it's hilarious when someone will type out like 6 paragraphs of venom and I can just respond with like
LOL.
or I just write my new favorite one as of late is like, you're still just a failed antagonist. And that's all I write back. And then they write back 6 more paragraphs. And then I write again.
Right, and no stress from your end.
Yeah, no stress on my end. I can just literally copy and paste. You're still just a failed antagonist. And then they get livid and they write again. I can do that all day long. I got stamina. Let's play games. By all means, I'll check the back end stats and see how much the troll activity is now benefiting me.
See, for me, it's like I will never tell anyone where to hang out. If you get benefit from conversations, that's great. I don't really care who the person is if you're benefiting. But I will say, like, when certain people post spaces with like people's names in the title, like their handles in the title, and they'd spend the whole space like bashing that person. It's like, I don't have enough space in my brain. Like, I'm trying to learn about magnetohydrodynamics, about like atmospheric fueled ion engines, all of the science and technology stuff that I'm studying. I don't have enough room in my brain to care about what you think about this person. Like, that shit just does not matter. I've just decided there's not enough room. So it's like, I don't understand what benefit someone would have from like sitting in a room, like constantly putting someone else down, right? And I think like calling out the bad behavior is good, but you can't let it consume you either, right? Like, I try to balance where it's like I'll share posts about the internal kind of behavior online, but then I'll also share posts about, like the science and UFOs and other things that have nothing to do with like in community relations, right? So I try to balance it both out because I think both are important. I think like we are kind of like the last frontier of like conspiracy theorists, or like people that are not fitting the mold. And so influence campaigns and like behavior modification, they're gonna target the people who are not fitting in the most. So like we're gonna be up against that the most, being non-believers or questioning the narrative, right? So it's like we're the big fish. If you can get people that question the narrative to go along with the narrative, then you know that you're heading society in the right direction, right? So I just feel like there's always been that narrative control aspect. And then what we're covering up is like the biggest secret of that humanity has, right? So it's like, there's definitely a lot of narrative control going on, more than other communities, I would say.
Yeah, and that's like back to like what Wolf was saying about like the negative character attributes that are being taken advantage of. Is I think there's a certain amount of the folks that pay attention to these things that are there for the train wreck. There's a certain amount of people that are taking advantage of that by the the engagement farming of putting in that person that can be bickered about to get a whole bunch of people in there. Like I could imagine, like if I wanted to have a big huge space, right, I could probably fire up an X space tomorrow morning and title it Cawffee Tawk. Hey, Ocean is a big fraud. She's not really nice. She's truly a big meanie.
I'm evil.
Right? And then think about how many people would join in just off of that title, because they would see, oh, this is going to be a fight space. There's going to be
all the
dirt
narcissists
talking.
And probably bipolar people will.
Mm-hmm. And then Ocean would have to come in to defend herself because everybody would be sending her DMs going, oh my God, that asshole, racist, misogynist New York scumbag is talking crap about Ocean. Ocean, you need to get in there and defend yourself. And then she would come into the space being all peaches and cream. And I'd be like, see, look, she's doing it again. She's so good at faking being nice.
There'd be hundreds of viewers for sure. They'd be talking about that for days. But that's what I mean is like, I don't know. There's a lot of vulnerable people in this community too. I'll say like probably more so than other communities. If you're into soccer, or basketball or something, or even like the gun community or the car community, you don't have a group of people that have experienced something and are looking for answers in the same way that we do with like the UFO or phenomenon topic, right? So like we got a bunch of people here that are like, what the fuck did I go through? There's mental health issues, which I think goes along with, you can have mental health issues and that put you in a state where you have an experience, or you can have an experience which then leads to mental health issues. Like they go hand in hand, right? So I don't think that it's uncommon or that it's anything to be upset about, but it's true. There's a lot of people with mental health and that are vulnerable and just don't know where to look for answers. And then we have people out here selling them snake oil. So it's like a double whammy, right? It's like, oh, you are needing answers here. Let me give them to you. You know what I mean? All of the answers you can find within yourself. I believe that truly, if you meditate and you sit with yourself, you can find the things you're looking for. But we're so distracted, and that's a part of it.
Yeah, pity those less blessed than you are.
Well, how lucky am I to have so much to lose? That's one of my favorite quotes.
Oh, that is a good one. I like that.
That's on the beginning of The Biggest Little Farm on Netflix. And they talk about, it's a documentary on how they developed their farm. And that quote came right before there was like a fire going through the farm. And so that's what one of the farmers said. It's like, well, how lucky am I to have so much stuff to be worried about, right?
So the thought just popped in my head because we got two Canadians up in the speaker panel here, and the concept of gun ownership was thrown out there, and it just made me realize I don't know in Canada what are the gun ownership laws like compared to the U.S. Us having the Second Amendment. What, if any, obstacles are there to being a legal gun owner in Canada?
Is Wolf the other Canadian? I'm not sure.
Wolf is a Canadian.
What?
Wolf is a Canadian.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Because like I was in Sea Cadets, I fired Daisy air rifles and stuff. I can go down to Canadian Tire and buy like a pellet gun, and that's allowed, right? So like I don't think there's anything for that. But like if I went to go buy a gun, I would have to go get there's like a special ticket that you get to, and then I don't know. Wolf might know more about gun ownership than me, but I don't really have the need to own like an actual firearm, so I just don't. But
10-4.
if I like moved and started hunting, I'd probably pursue some type of license, a gun license, right, Wolf?
Yeah, I think it's called an FAC, a firearms acquisition certificate, and even if you do shooting.
Wasn't it like the buddy ticket? I want to say there was the word buddy for something, but I don't remember.
Maybe. I don't know that term. I do know that our gun control laws are very strict in Canada, and there's no equivalent in Canada to the Second Amendment or even the First Amendment. In fact, Canada is more of a lullaby than it is a nation. Canada is one of the first fully operationalized kind of denationalized, right? There's no sense of a nation being here because our origins are a mix of different peoples and cultures. You've got all the people who were native to the continent before the Europeans arrived. Then you have the English and French colonialists, right? And then all the other Europeans that came in. And then the Battle of the Plains of Abraham, where the French and English settled things out and the English essentially won. Since that time, Canada has been what's called a dominion. We were never a true nation. We were a state, but not a nation. Those words are not homologous. They're not the same. They're often portrayed that way. But ultimately, in Canada, you are a subject before you are a citizen, if you're even a citizen at all. This is a raw truth most Canadians don't want to accept or understand. and we have a
The
wonderful propaganda arm.
colonialism.
Yeah. Well, we were a colony of Great Britain, of course, but even more than that, when in 1981 or 82, I believe, our Constitution was essentially kind of ratified and put into effect, right? We changed from the British North America Act to becoming, ostensibly an independent nation. That was all political theater laid by the entrenched financial powers that rule Canada.
We do have our Charter of Rights and Freedom.
That's it, the Charter.
Right?
Yes. Well, Charter. Do you know that the Charter has a section called Section 33, which is the notwithstanding clause, which basically means everything can be suspended at the government's whim for up to 5 years at a time on an endless rollover cycle?
I do know that during
Whoa.
the convoy, there was like one of the last guys that's alive to have signed that, and he was like for the convoy's mission, like because he was
Correct.
like, literally, we signed this shit to be like, we don't have to do this or whatever, or this should work. We should be able to come and peacefully protest. And the fact that like they were blocked from, or they were trying to be blocked from doing that. It was a crazy situation, dude. I lost all faith when I watched a horse, like a RCMP member on a horse, take out an old lady with a walker. And 20 minutes later, they tried to say that someone threw a bike at the horse. That is when I lost all faith in like, the whole thing, dude. The whole thing. I was like, I don't believe any of this shit anymore. What a blatant lie.
Yeah, Canada has been going down this path for a very long time. You'll notice that within what are called the Five Eyes nations, the United States, Canada, New Zealand, Australia, Great Britain, you'll find different elements of social engineering unfolded in different styles, right? In the UK, it's primarily speech censorship and targeting people for freedom of expression with jail time, right? In Canada, it is primarily the illusion that multiculturalism can somehow build a strong country and that your elected leaders essentially work for you when in fact they are sworn to the crown. They swear an oath of allegiance to a corporate entity, right? When Canadians vote in an election, we're not voting for who gets to decide ultimate policy or who has the right to exert sovereign power. What we're voting on is who gets to represent us to the crown. It's bizarre. We think somehow that our system is analogous to the US system. It's not. And in the United States, of course, you have and I'm sorry to insult my American friends here, this is not personal, but you have essentially the open theater of the Second Amendment being a useful protection for your civil liberties, when in fact we see the First, Second, and Fourth Amendments violated on a daily basis now, and most Americans just go, yeah, but my political side says this. Right? So these aspects of social engineering are being rolled out all over the place. In Australia, they got rid of their guns. There was a huge mass shooting. They got rid of their guns. Right? During the COVID madness, where did you see the most brutal street level occupation of police enforcement of rules? In
They use
Australia.
energy weapons in Australia too. I remember
Sure, of
watching
course.
live streams because I was on YouTube watching like multiple live streams for like all of the convoy stuff around the world because the news was not reporting it and they weren't even reporting it properly when they did. So like I was watching them and like literally all of their phones started like all of the protesters' phones, and then all of their faces looked like they had been sunburnt, like they'd been in the sun all day. They went like lobster red. It was wild.
If you consider that a human body has an immune system with B cells and T cells, right? Consider in the United States, right, that the immune system of the Constitution is meant to be the First Amendment and the Second Amendment. Right? They are literally the B cells and the T cells of the American Constitution. And without them functioning, you will fall to the disease of parasitism. People will entrench themselves around levers of power, as they have, and they will wrest the country away from you. In 1913 and before, they called it the banking interest, the money trust, and that got conflated with Jewish world conspiracy and nonsense like that, when in fact it's a multifactorial, multi-ethnic, transnational set of vested interests who no longer have nation-state allegiance, right? They are transnational capitalists and transnational corporativists, and they will utilize your trust to subvert your expectations and your standards for what qualifies as representative government. And the US is the last domino. Right now we're seeing a full and total assault on the First, Second, and Fourth Amendments. But pretty soon there may be assaults against the Fifth Amendment. You may be compelled to testify, right? God help us when that happens.
I wish you were a newscaster, Wolf, and covered these topics. I feel like the way that you address things is very astute and fair. I mean, you point things out that I don't think that most people see things the way that you do, which I would just say is very clearly, and you're very well researched, and you reference things to support your position that, from my perspective, I mean, it would be almost next to impossible to debate the things that you're saying. So I think it would be wonderful. You should do more where you address these things. That's just me patting you on the back. Well, thank you. Thank you for coming in here and sharing your observations of things.
I love Wolf. He reminds me of D-Dave in that sense, like just very good at articulating and making things like simple without oversimplification. Like, we love it, Wolf, for sure.
I find inspiration in people like George Carlin, and nowadays, as someone who I'm a bit of a gushing fanboy for, and I've got to restrain it a bit, Kurt Metzger, whose work I just immensely value.
I'm right there with you with Metzger, and yes, he seems like a modern day variant of both Carlin and then if people aren't familiar with Bill Hicks,
right, Hicks,
two geniuses when it came to presenting the woes of the world in a comical fashion.
For anyone who wants to just dive right into the heart of what's eating America, go back and read Thomas Jefferson and Samuel Adams. Just read some of their quotes about financial interests and the entire purpose of having control over the issuance of money in your nation, right? And money is upstream of most of the incentives we pay attention to. It's so clear, right? The Declaration of Independence, right? A political manifesto, the Constitution, and the Bill of Rights. And if you try and take them exactly as they were written in the time they were written, you're going to fall prey to something they themselves warn against, which is having a permanent, fixed, unalterable interpretation of those documents. They're meant to be living documents, but that doesn't mean they're meant to be wishy-washy. You're meant to employ reason and ultimately the principle of justice in your interpretations, right? The whole idea of reciprocity and justice are foundational, yet they're easy to subvert because we are flawed, fallible, and ultimately noble, and that nobility, noble creatures, but that nobility feeds into our pride, and this is one of the greatest weapons used against us. Right? Whenever you find yourself on the side of the majority, it's time to stop and think and reconsider. Mark Twain said something similar to that.
I love that one.
All of your great quotes, all right, all of the great aphorisms and quotes from literature and politics, they are essentially crystallizations of wisdom that you can unfold in multiple contexts. I would encourage everyone to go buy the first book of aphorisms and quotes that you can find and meditate on 2 or 3 of them every day.
I quote Mark Twain with great regularity. And with equal regularity, when I post such quotes, it amazes me how fast people will chime in and be like, Mark Twain was a known racist. I'm like, what the fuck's that have to do with the quote that that I just posted?
Here's the thing. Everyone's a little bit racist because being racist is being partly, it's an element of being human. Now, how much you allow your impulse to judge people on in-group, out-group metrics, that depends on your directing mind, right? Marcus Aurelius talks about your directing mind. You have control over that, right?
We all recognize differences, but it's how you respond. And if you're responding negatively to someone based off of those differences and not what the actual issue is, then that is where I would say it classifies as racism. But like, obviously we're all different people. We're all going to notice all different things about each other, but it's like how you respond to those differences is what makes you judgmental based off race or not. Right. So.
Okay. Anyone admit that they make judgments every day that are discriminatory, biased, prejudiced, and sadly, in some cases, racist, right? And you can grow, right? The problem comes if you don't grow out of those positions. But to pretend that they don't happen and that they don't exist in all of us is to lie not only to other people, but to fundamentally lie to yourself, right? Discrimination and prejudice are not inherently bad things, right? You discriminate, you make choices based on the attributes of tools, of circumstances, right? You prejudge things all the time, right? People have prejudgments, they are prejudicial. Whether or
Yeah,
not
that's what I was going to chime in and say, that judgment comes from a place of like lack of understanding. So it's like if you can understand that person, then usually you don't judge them, right?
Yes. Where I find real problem personally is with the entire idea of racism, because taking someone's immutable characteristics, right, the DNA that they inherited that they can't control, to use that as a basis to judge them for the aspects of life that they do have control over, this is a category error, which is why genuine racism, right, valuing someone's worth as a human being based on their immutable ethnic and racial characteristics, this is a deeply, deeply flawed thing. And it essentially sets you yourself up for sabotage, because that judgment you employ against others for what they cannot control about themselves will be applied to you equally. So there's a quote relating to that. Justice for others is charity for ourselves. In the ancient world, justice was understood to be the primary motivator of the dynamics of politics. The gods existed to enact justice because they knew that men alone, right, men and women, mankind, could employ corrupt laws that did not embody justice. And the idea of God or the gods, right? Take your particular religious coloration of that out of mind. I don't care which god or gods you worship, or if you don't worship them. To me, the idea of God is a limiting principle. There is something, a code outside of myself. I'm not allowed to alter this because I know I'm fallible. Mistakes. I know I can be manipulated. I know I can be blackmailed. I can be coerced. I can be ill, right? So if there's a code outside myself that I orient myself towards, a navigation star, as it were, call that God, the God of your understanding, the ultimate limiting principle that you are not allowed to alter the terms and conditions for. Right? And by that metric, justice is more important than laws. And
I see we have Zane77, new to the speaker panel, with their hand up. Come on in.
How's everyone doing today?
Having a blast.
It's been a great conversation, honestly. Every time I see Cawffee talk, he certainly attracts my attention. And, I guess I don't want to use on this, but I did want to say thank you to all of you. I've heard this conversation for quite some time. And, just a lot of gratitude for everyone, how they voice up and honestly, even to the skeptics, because for me, the conversations that we're having here is so vital to bring awareness to everyone. It's tough sometimes when I go out there in the matrix and have these conversations in a normal environment, I guess you can say. The stigma is still very much there, and to be able to open up and to have real conversations, regardless if it's good, bad, the conversations are being heard. And I have noticed in my own personal life that things are becoming different. But with that being said, all these topics, something was brought up earlier, the concept of fear, the amygdala in the brain and its biological impacts, I think is something that is overlooked sometimes in terms of what's utilized as a tool to be manipulated. And it's interesting, we're wired to react to this concept of fear. And your bravery, Eric, even yourself, even as the host, to come out and be able to speak, to what you have experienced and to open up these conversations is so vital. And again, I just really want to come up, address this concept of fear and how there's a potential to manipulate that concept through these systems that we live in, like I referred to before as the Matrix. But with that being said, thank you again for the opportunity to speak.
No, you got it. Thank you for coming up and throwing your 2 cents in. I'm happy to get feedback that you have an appreciation for these conversations. That's why I do this. I try to lead by example, break trail, so to say, and hope to inspire others to go in a similar direction, especially after I'm putting my best foot forwards to maybe make it a little bit easier for them. So yeah, I don't know how to put it without sounding like a fucking egomaniac, but
Well, you're a leader, and being a leader doesn't mean you have a ton of followers. A leader means you go first, right?
Yeah, and
the followers come if they are going to follow you. But I think that you are a trailblazer, and you're blazing the trail. And often trailblazers are not outside of the main spectrum. So 100, 200 years from now, they're going to be like, that Eric guy.
Ooh, I think I'm
kind of like frowned upon for stepping outside the norms, and yet they're like, nowadays they're like brilliant minds, right? So but at the same time you're sticking true to what you believe and not like succumbing to the pressures of the world. So I applaud you for that.
Thanks,
Ocean. Yeah, just I appreciate that people can be scared and can be frightened. I'm not that person. So that's a big reason for me to go in the direction that I did when I went public, because I understand these things exist. I don't suffer those things. I'm not afraid of anything. I mean, I've walked that walk. You know, a lot of people would be terrified to engage in activities that I have survived. It is what it is. So that's part of me trying to lead by example, is to show folks that there is a level of boldness that we can operate from contemporarily. How do I I almost think of it like the Jedi, right? Like they say something because you can then be compromised by that. But the idea of what can compromise you is what can control you. So to me, I've often been called by very close friends of mine as such as being the most uncompromising person they've ever met, which to me is a feather in my cap, because I have zero compromise ability. I don't give a flying fuck. If somebody wants to try to bully me, threaten me, direct my actions, slow my roll, I just identify them as an enemy and then act accordingly. I'm certainly not afraid of them. I'm certainly not going to succumb to the threat. To me, you just lost the battle right there. And the more battles you lose, the less likely you are to win the war. So every time somebody threatens me and I just simply laugh immediately, I just call that a win.
Yeah, I just want to add what my grandpa said is that fear is important because it tells you that because he taught me how to drive and he drove logging truck, and here I am with my class 3. So we had lots of talks about this type of stuff, and fear, he says it's important because it lets you know that you could be putting yourself in danger, but you don't panic over that fear, right? You have to recognize it. And I lived through Canada's biggest natural disaster, the wildfire that happened in northern Alberta, and we all evacuated the entire fucking city. And I swear to God, the reason that people, there was a couple people in the ditch, but the reason why everyone got out safely is because over half the town has safety training. They've sat through and been in an emergency, this is what you do. And the main thing is you don't lose your head, right? You do what you're capable of doing. So it's I think that really did make a difference. And it's a very unique situation to experience that group trauma. We all lived through it. And then not everyone came back, but everyone that came back did live through it. So it's like a very interesting dynamic of like being put in like such a fearful situation, and just how we all handled it and how we've handled it previously. Like we've had a flood, and when the flood happened, it's like the whole town reacted in the way of like support, like we did when the fire, and there was talks of, oh yeah, when the fire. So I don't know. There's like a sense there, but none of us are afraid. We still live here every summer. We're not running away from it, but yeah, it's like just an awareness without, but fear isn't a bad thing. That's what I was trying to say, is like fear protects you from getting hurt. So I think it is important to recognize.
I think there's some value to fear, because in my experience, the only thing that I feel that, like, you know, when you, how do I put, like, when fear kicks in, the only thing that happens for me is a heightened sense of awareness. Like I'm cognizant that there's danger, but it's not like fear that, I don't know. Like I see Wolf with his hand up, and it makes me think of Frank Herbert in Dune. Like the statement, "Fear is the mind killer." I think for most people, which is why they try to wield it so effectively as a weapon. But again, I don't suffer that. To me, it just causes a heightened sense of awareness to make better decisions. But Wolf had his hand up, and then Zane did also. So go ahead, Wolf.
One of the words that isn't used enough in the context of fear is the term panic, right? It's panic you actually want to avoid. Fear is natural. Fear is a tool, right? You can actually redirect fear into positive outcome. It's possible to do. And with the term uncompromising, some people might take that to mean obstinacy or an unreasonableness, but anyone who is reflective understands that there are some things you do not compromise on at all, and they are almost always directly related to the idea of sin or moral trespass. If you compromise when it comes to genuine sin or moral trespass, you then have given in actually to fear and panic, right? If you are uncompromising in those areas, those are actually positive moral traits. They are not detractions. So
fair enough. And I will even go so far as to say is that when people say that I am uncompromising, I would say it's the only time people make those statements is when they're making an effort to compromise me. And because I refuse to be compromised, they get mad because they failed. It's just, and then all of a sudden they're getting into using it in a pejorative capacity, which to me is, again, just a feather in my cap. It's like, I see the efforts that you're trying to put forth. You're trying to make me do something I don't want to do, and I refuse to acquiesce. So by all means, call me uncompromising.
I think, oh, sorry, go ahead, Zane. I see your hands up.
No, please, feel free to go.
No, you go ahead. You go ahead. Your hand's been up for a while.
Yeah, I was going to say, honestly, I agreed with everything that Wolf was describing there. And, you know, one key term that I keep seeing of discernment with individuals. You know, for Eric, he's what you've expressed, and just to kind of give you some details on where you've taken my journey. You know, looking into neutrinos, I've watched you for quite some time. I've been on this subject for, I like to consider, way too long, and probably traveling on my own path for too long. So that's why I'm very grateful to find people like yourselves to share information, because it's put a lot of pieces of the puzzle together. For example, neutrinos and your concept of direct energy weapons. It's interesting, those patterns and how they keep also coming up. Maybe not so much for neutrinos. We talked once before. I've gone deep dive into better understanding that. And one of the biggest takeaways I've taken from that is a potential for reality not being what we perceive. And that's a pretty typical concept. To stay true and to reject any irrational thoughts that may come from any initial perception of fear, I think shows true character. And I couldn't be, again, to stay in line and stay true to the data and stay true to what you know deep within yourself to be the right path.
To thine own self be true comes to mind. I can't tell. It looks like Ocean's talking, but I don't hear her.
No, I'm here. I'm just sitting.
Oh, no worries. I wanted to ask, Wolf, there's something, if I'm not mistaken, I've heard you say something in the past about like when things happen once, when things happens twice, then it becomes a pattern. Do you recall this? And then patterns indicate other things.
Vaguely. Well, you know the old trope, fool me once, shame on you, fool me twice, shame on me, or it's similar to that. But oh, yes, I understand. We were talking about Rupert Sheldrake and his idea about morphic resonance or morphic fields. And the idea is that once something happens in one locale, he was using animals, right? Let's say a group of rats in Munich are trained to do a particular task. And these rats are from a completely different genetic lineage than a control group or two or three in different parts of the world. And the rats in Munich solve a particular maze, or they develop a particular technique to achieve an outcome they want, right? Food-based, reward-based. It turns out that when they've done that once, right, rats in other areas or test animals in other areas are able to do it statistically significantly with more success, right? And his thought is that there may be some kind of repository of information or some kind of record, right? This ties in with woo-woo talk about the Akashic records and everything. I don't want to get into that. But his idea is morphic resonance, whereby, and he's even done this with crystals, apparently. You grow a particular crystal in a pattern or a way or a medium or a solution. You do it once, you do it twice, and then in a few other areas, right? You grow those crystals, and they don't seem to encounter the stumbling blocks or the difficulties or the disruptive patterns that occurred the first 2, 3, 4, 5 times in your test sample. So again, this is fringe science, and I don't mean it's crackpot science. It's fringe, right? Sheldrake himself is a believer in the genuine scientific method of hypothesize, right? And then experiment and observe, and then refine your hypotheses into theories that need to be testable, repeatable. But there are many people who will not take up his challenge to engage in that elementary form of science. And in that sense, he reminds me of Ignaz Semmelweis and the hand washing bit. Read about Rupert Sheldrake, Sheldrake. He's a British scientist. And again, I'm not saying he's right. I'm saying his reputation is such that if he's telling us that he has credible scientific evidence to suggest this needs more investigation and it's not being investigated, something's wrong. He has the bona fides to be listened to.
Thank you, Wolf. And then in regards to, there's something that Zane said about, reality and such. And I'm trying to think of the right way to put this, is that, we in our human experience have our 5 senses for which we are afforded a limited ability to engage with the reality around us. It's very limited. The reality that exists around us is not very accessible by those 5 limited senses. So I think that's a worthy idea to brood upon for what that means to the brooder of what is reality, what is our place in this, what else can be going on unbeknownst to us at this point. And I think this will change through time, through our understanding of how we engage and what we can observe and pay attention to, apply scientific study, similar to, 1,000 years ago, 2,000 years ago, 10,000 years ago, one could sit down and assess their understanding of reality, again, with their limited five senses, and they would come to conclusions. And now, since from then until now, time has passed again with our limited five senses, we're learning more about the reality around us. And in time, we will gain even more knowledge. But I would suggest that currently, our understanding of reality probably falls short of what that reality is in ways that we can't even begin to imagine.
Yeah, we don't know what we don't know, but that limitation is not all negative, right? Imagine trying to rehydrate, and you're drinking from a fire hose at full strength. Good luck. You're not going to be able to manage that intake of water. So that torrent of sensory information, right? If we only pay attention,
I would like to see that YouTube video, though.
Can you imagine? But the torrent of information coming out of the sun, right? The billions of photons, right? And the different spectra of EM radiation and other, just pouring out of that nuclear furnace. We perceive just the slightest fraction of sense from it, but that's enough to do some beautiful art and creativity, right? So rather than bemoan, and I'm not saying you're doing this, but those people who do bemoan that, oh, we'll never understand the world and we have limited senses, that's a good thing. That's a good thing.
Yeah,
Totally get it. Yeah.
When you open up your senses, and then you get too much stimulus, like it's like stimulus overload, and then it's harder for you to perceive it. Like you need to have your little blinders up on a daily basis just to be able to, like, you only see 0.003% of the electromagnetic spectrum is visible light, 0.003, right? So it's like, imagine if we did see magnetic fields, thermal and ultraviolet, like it would be like static TV, right? Like if we were able to perceive all of these different frequencies, it would all mesh together. There's actually that little shrimp, what's his name? He's and he has like 3 pupils, and he can see, I think he's got more photoreceptors in his eyes. He's like the most visually advanced creature. Mantis shrimp, yeah, that guy, he's pretty cool. But yeah, you're right though. It's like if you've ever been in an altered state, and that's a lot like opening up your perception, right? Doesn't necessarily have to be with substances, but when you're in an altered state, even drinking does put you in an altered state as well, and you can feel those blinders go up in some areas as well when you're drinking and you're impaired and your awareness is changed, right?
You're right, Ocean. There's a qualitative difference and a meaning-based difference between data and information. Data is not information, and information and knowledge, and wisdom, right? They're also not the same thing. Right? They're related, but they're not the same.
Yeah,
Same
my example is knowledge is knowing you're wearing pants. Wisdom is knowing you're still naked under your pants. Yeah, that was my example for that.
There is a cognitive scientist named Donald Hoffman, Hoffman, and another scientist named Michael Levin, Levin, and they're doing fantastic work on the nature of consciousness, the nature of minds, the nature of agency, and it relates to sense perception and what we would consider, or what would be termed, para-knowledge or parapsychology, or woo-woo, things like remote viewing and things like that. Kurt Metzger speaks about remote viewing in wonderful terms, because he curses the name of Robert Monroe, and he cautions against people engaged in remote viewing or binaural beats or all that stuff, because he says none of those people
the Hemsley process.
Yeah. None of those people talk about the flip side of all that investigation into technology and how it affects human beings, which is the abuse of children and other human beings, right? Those two things are interlinked inextricably, right? Mangala style. And yet they are promulgated and talked about in very casual terms without acknowledging those origins.
great point. That was one of the things in the deciphering of my experience that I'll just say, freaked me out, was proof for me. I appreciate it's a statement that I'm making that proves nothing to anyone else. But in my experience and understanding, I came across the Monroe Institute stuff, and as an adult, trying to investigate my past, I started playing one of these guided hypnosis thingies, right? Which I can appreciate. Wolf, you say that's not smart. I get it. But with that being said, as this was playing, I became aware that I knew this thing verbatim. And at the time, as an adult, I was under the impression I had just found it and had never heard it before. But when it started to play, and I apparently had heard it so many times that I knew it verbatim, to me, that was kind of like, oh, I guess this must have been one of the tapes they were playing when I was a kid. Because fuck, I know this.
Yeah, people are like, you're so funny. It's like, thanks. A woman used to come pull me out of the classroom so we could go color together. I don't know what to say. I don't know what to say, dude. No, yeah. Binaural beats and like the hemisync process. I've heard mixed results about hemisync. I've heard of people doing it and it being fine and nothing bad happened. And I've heard of people being affected negatively. So just like any other experience one might try to pursue, I would caution to do your studying or.
Yeah, I think of it, it's technically, I guess maybe is or isn't the right word, but the overall idea and concept is kind of benign, right? It depends on how it's wielded, but we have to, as Wolf suggested, appreciate that it's an avenue that is ripe for abuse.
Yeah, likely used in the Montauk project, which we know is real also.
Well, I've shared about before the DARPA N3 program. It's like 3 different phases, and the last phase of it is literally controlling a drone with thoughts. Like I don't even think they have a chip in phase 3. So it's like the technology exists. It's not that they're out there doing it to everybody, but it's like manipulation could definitely be happening for sure.
I see Zane, you got your hand up. Fire away.
That was an interesting point right there. And I just wanted to touch on some facts around that concept because you were mentioning before the senses, and we have our 5 senses, but the mind as a transmitter as well. I mean, there are EEG and MEG devices where, obviously they very weak signals, but obviously the mind is providing some sort of form of energy for us to read different categories of the brain to map it. It's an interesting concept because clearly there's some type of energy source that's released from our minds, and I can only imagine behind closed doors what kind of studying is being done.
I've suggested that this whole conversation of Elon Musk and Neuralink is to get people to believe that hardware is required to have such an interface. And I would say that you're right, Zane, is that maybe there's an extra sense, beyond the 5th that can be finagled with. And then when you had mentioned the EEGs and the EMGs, don't forget EKGs. They also, there's something to that as far as sound signatures and things like that. And again, it's my space. I'm sharing my experiences. One of the things from my past, in my youth, that sticks out is extremely peculiar Again, as a kid, I thought everybody was doing what I was doing. As an adult, I now learned that not everybody was going to get EEGs and EKGs with the regularity that I was. Happened all the time. So there was some sort of finagling going on and observation. But Wolf, you got your hand up. Go ahead. Am I the only one not hearing Wolf?
Wolf, are you there?
Yeah, I am. I had my mic down. I just wanted to talk about the hardware issue, right? Early phase technology requires, right, physical coupling, right? A stereo jack going into your stereo from your headphones. But we have wireless headphones. We used to have telephones that were hardwired, into lines in the ground and copper wires carried around the country. Now we have it, with transmission of energy through, EM radiation. So the whole idea is not so much that hardware is required, it's that communication is required, and that communication can be, physically coupled, or it can be wireless. And if you imagine something as simple as the difference in technology between state-of-the-art military technology and the SR-71 Blackbird, was it the 71 or 76 Blackbird? I forget. The SR Blackbird, right?
71.
In the late 60s, 71, compared to civilian aviation at the time, right? What, 40 to 60 years ahead? At least 3 generations ahead, right? Think about the same thing for wireless contact, wireless transmission. And if you can actually read or modulate or even just gather information so that you can make inferences about mental information, right? The fingerprints of thought as they are kind of recorded in brain activity. Well, that right there is enough to do all kinds of predictive and even shaping efforts with, right? We talked about how much information pours out of the sun in terms of photonic information, and we capture just a fraction of that. Yet look at what we can do with that mere fraction of data and information, right? Same thing with wired and wireless technology and brain interface, right? It's very clumsy now, right? What we know about publicly. I can't imagine what's called telepresence, the remote operation. Right now, people piloting drones are sat in a bunker somewhere or an outside, structure, and they've got telemetry data and so on, bounced off satellites, and they've got a joystick and a control console set up, maybe stateside, and the drone is a few thousand kilometers away somewhere else operating. Imagine, however, that you could simply, literally plug your mind in, plug the soldier into the equipment, right, with a stereo jack, cyberpunk style, and suddenly you are able then to transmit or somehow receive the information that sensors on the drone pick up in terms of airspeed and temperature and whether you're being painted with a radar signature into analogous sensory information so that they feel the hackles on the back of their neck rise up. Oh, I've just been painted with radar, right? They may be able to literally transmit, mental commands to their equipment, not because the machine understands them, but because the human information, the human communication is transmitted through an interface layer that is translated into machine intelligible, instructions for execution. Telepresence is what it's called. How else are we going to map out the rest of the solar system if not by telepresence? Right? This is an immediate military technology, and it's a technology that's going to be developed by corporations for eventual expansion into moon-based operations and asteroid mining operations. Right? It will be a brand new American frontier and a whole new age for new robber barons to arise. Right? The Earth is pretty much mapped out now. So all of these technologies you see being developed now, and the contraction of a globalist world into 3 or 4 dominant factions, this is like someone breathing in and holding their breath in order to kind of develop fortitude for what's to come next, which is an expansion outside of the terrestrial sphere. God help us all then if we have the same kind of governments then that we do now.
Yeah, I think human. Ass to our home and probably kill our home or take it over too, because we are not, we just like shoot everything in the sky. We just, all right, we'll just take it down. I don't know. It's just, we're not really friendly on a cosmic scale. And it's like, I want to live in happy la la land where it's like everyone holds hands and sings kumbaya and we can just like not kill each other anymore. Like, is that so much to ask? Like, hey, can we all just prosper? Like, can that be good? But no, apparently we can't. So I'm sorry.
Ocean, that can never happen. And the day it does happen, it will simply be an illusion over an even worse kind of tyranny. Life is the tension between safety and risk. And so many of us choose safety over any meaningful risk that we don't understand what it is to be alive anymore. And yeah, that's easy for me to say. I'm just some schlub in Canada pontificating about nonsense. But if we think about the illusions we accept now to continue essentially living a consumerist, indulgent lifestyle, right? What won't we do for the sake of convenience, right? Our ancestors didn't have as many options to indulge that weakness of theirs. We have many more such options. And I think our generation, or at least our era, right, the post-World War II, right, pre-2030 era, we are in, I think, one of the critical development phases of humanity on Earth, a phase change, much as the transition between a hunter-gatherer lifestyle to the agricultural age, and similarly from the agricultural age into the industrial age, and then the industrial into the atomic and electronic
Hopefully
age.
it swings back. Like, we've gone for convenience, outsourcing, blah, 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 but kind of just like, it's a different example, maybe sidebar, unrelated, but you know how, like, say example of religion in school, like there used to be religion in school and now they're removing religious books from school. So it's almost like this, I've described it before, but do you think that the pendulum is going to swing in this aspect where like people will want to become more self-sufficient? Because that's how I feel. Like, I would love to have enough money to make my property entirely self-sufficient and like have a big garden. And I'm like, for like where I am now, I can't go pick strawberries from like anywhere. So it's just, it sucks. Like, I wish we had more local resources, and I think we need to swing back that way a little bit and stop using Amazon for so much, you know?
You're right. You're indubitably right. But how many folks are, and this is going to sound terrible, I'm not trying to dig at you. I'm as guilty of this as anyone. But how many folks have the luxury of even thinking about that when they're, you know, just $1,000 away from utter ruin and not paying their rent and becoming homeless, right? The precariousness of modern credit-based life is one of the key tools of our own enslavement. Not enough of us are willing to actually forego conveniences to earn the luxury of more independence. And you know, I'm on the wrong side of let's say 40. Is there for the kids who've come after us, who have even less of a foundation in critical thinking and understanding how politics and power work? What hope is there for them unless we showcase it for them? Ours might be one of the last generations of people capable of bridging that gap in wisdom for them.
You got to pass it on, baby. I have an 8-year-old and my son is a genius and he's a self-thinker. And sometimes that's, it has to be a debate and he gets a good deal on pretty much everything he debates. That is the price you pay for having teachings, most of it at home, like school is a trap. It's good for like social stuff, right? Like to go to college and meet people, and like that part's probably really healthy for you, but I don't know, it's kind of a money trap is what I think. But go ahead.
What you just mentioned there before, in terms of being able to model and share that information is, you know, precipice to what I was talking about previously. Making everyone aware of this topic and being assertive in your conversations and rejecting that fear when that stigma which is still very strong, arises, I think it's vital. And Eric, again, you were mentioning it before, modeling that behavior and showing discernment, staying true to what you know, I think is essentially the key to help humanity in the future. And that's ultimately what brought me to spaces like this. So thank you so much, everyone, for taking the time and for allowing me to speak with you. It's been a great conversation, and hopefully there's more in the future.
Yeah, absolutely. This has been a wonderful conversation, and I just, in the vein of what we were discussing, I pulled up a quote from Benjamin Franklin, a guy that I often love his quotes also. And I'm going to close out this space with this quote. And I think what I'll do is tomorrow's space, I think I'm going to focus on what this quote means. So I'm leaving you guys with homework for your brains, okay? So here's the quote from Benjamin Franklin. Those who would give up essential liberty to purchase a little temporary safety deserve neither liberty nor safety. I want folks to think about that with the focus on, this will be the question for discussion tomorrow. What is essential liberty?
No using AI either.
No using it. Good job,
Yeah.
Ocean. Yeah. I would like to engage this conversation with you all tomorrow. What is essential liberty in regards to this Benjamin Franklin quote? And would you be willing to purchase a little bit of temporary safety? Where are people's brains at on this? I'm curious. I think that'll be a wonderful conversation. But with that being said, thank you everybody that showed up here today. My favorite Canadian subjects. I'm sorry, it cracks me up. No disrespect, just a little humor. And everybody else that was here. So everybody, have an excellent day. I appreciate everybody for engaging, and as always, I'll catch you on the flip side. Everybody, be well. Have a wonderful Saturday. You got it, Par. Good luck in the casinos today, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Get them for all you can. Wolf, thank you so much.
No idea.
Ocean, thank you. Kyle, I see you down there as well. Everybody, have an excellent day, and I'll catch you tomorrow. Be well.